If you are in the middle of a Roth conversion, you're going to want to hear this show today because it's going to change perhaps your plans for a Roth conversion. If you are 60 to 67 years old and have not started your Social Security, or maybe don't know what a Roth conversion is, you're going to want to listen and watch the show today because there's 3 things that are happening right now in Washington, and this country is in a unique position that it's never been in before. And I'm doing a video later today about the hidden Roth conversion window, and that's what this show is about today. I will say before we get started, it's great if you're listening to this show, but there's going to be some great graphics that I think you're going to want to watch.
Retirement for life. Your passport to a comfortable and confident retirement. The podcast that's equal parts education and entertainment, where we break down the retirement maze with a dash of fun and a heap of wisdom from your host, Christian Sear CPA, the passionate retirement specialist and president of Sear Financial Wealth Advisors, the independent registered investment advisor specializing in the Aim Retirement System.
So Emma, I've been a CPA for, 27 years now.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen a circumstance like this in America. Where do we start?
Yeah, it's a great time to do a Roth conversion, specifically if you're in that hidden window of what we call, really it's from retirement age until RMD age, where your income is probably the lowest it's ever been. You have no other income. You have a great window to convert. But also right now, tax rates are extremely low, and they're going to be low for the next few years. So, these factors coming together, now is a great time to convert your tax-deferred money.
Potentially, everyone's situation is different, but here's a few things that the average, let's make a stereotypical person.
Mm-hmm.
They are 62 years old. They have 3 more years left to work.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to retire at 65. They have done a good job saving for retirement. They have at least $1 million in their 401k or their IRA. I talk to people like this on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
Here's some things they don't realize. They don't realize that we are at relatively all-time low tax rates, number one. They do not realize that 40 years ago, and they all remember Ronald Reagan being in office.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to 1986 income tax rates, the average income tax rate was effectively 33% higher. They don't realize that. Here's another thing they don't realize. What their tax rate is going to be when they are 80 years old.
Yeah.
They have no clue. And they also don't realize that a Roth conversion will very often save them 6 to 7 figures in taxes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we get a lot of potential clients coming to talk to us every day. And it almost seems like the mindset of a lot of those people is, I'm either just retired or retiring within the next year or two. I'm about to be done with everything. I've, planned, I've saved enough to retire, and now I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
But really, there's a lot of things that, you can still do to optimize that time before you start your Social Security to help eliminate those RMDs later in life and really set yourself up for a low tax retirement.
All right, let me tell you the story about Larry. My good friend Larry is a next door neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
And up until about a year ago, he was just that, a neighbor and a friend. And I want to say he's approximately 72 or 73. I'm not sure of his exact age.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes to me and he says, I'm in trouble. I've been watching your videos. You've been a friend for years. And I said, what's wrong, Larry? Do you need help?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, do you need me to cut the grass? No, he says it's taxes. I'm getting nailed with taxes. I have what's called a required minimum distribution.
Mm-hmm.
I have this money sitting in my IRA, my 401k from work. I did a great job saving. My wife did a great job saving.
Yeah.
And do you know how much I'm paying in taxes? He said to me, and I quote, I am in a higher tax bracket now than I was when I was working.
Yeah, and we see this a lot. I mean, it's almost like it comes out of nowhere. You know these RMDs are coming, but you don't realize what extent it is. If you've done a good job saving and most of your money is tax deferred, you can be stuck in a situation where your entire retirement is about to be taxed, and you're going to be in a higher tax bracket than you were even when you were making big money working.
Yeah, but I'm telling you right now, what I believe, what I'm staking my career on is that the effectiveness of Roth conversions will be reduced significantly. Taxes are going to go up, and we'll talk about that. But I just want to show something right here. So let's go to what people understand about retirement and taxes. Okay, so this is a picture right here of, I would say, a typical person retiring. This is that 62-year-old couple. They have $1.5 million in their IRA and their 401ks. And they are going to retire in 3 more years. So they still have 3 more years of work. We go through their plan. And yes, what do you see right here? What happens when they retire?
I mean, their tax rate drops down, right away to about 10%.
And so people, they're used to that. People always think, and correctly so, when I retire, I would be paying less taxes.
Yes.
And that's generally true because they're not making money anymore.
For a few years.
This is the picture of how 98% of Americans visualize their tax situation in retirement. But it doesn't last, does it? So what's the first thing that happens? Essentially, at some point, we start what?
Yeah, you start collecting Social Security. And so that amount, maybe it's not as significant as your working income, but it's still something. It might bump you up another tax bracket.
Absolutely.
But then after that, whether it's age 73 or 75, then that's where the real issue comes in with required minimum distributions. And you're forced to start pulling out all of your tax deferred money, and it's treated as income. And that's where people really start to see their tax bracket jump up another level, and possibly into a level that they really didn't plan for or didn't think that would happen to them.
Right. Pay attention. If you are 60 to 67 years old and you've saved more than $1 million in your 401k or IRA, this is the picture of what your retirement taxes very likely will look like.
Yes.
And the tax rate is higher at age 85 than it is while you're working. So that's the point.
Yeah. And something about this is we do have a lot of very educated clients. A lot of our clients watch a lot of YouTube videos and come to us realizing that this is a real problem for them. But they also say, oh, I'll just convert everything in a few years and I'll be okay. I won't have any of these RMDs. But really, when we put together a full plan for them, the plan's a lot different than what they had thought it would be. And it really requires us looking at your full situation, what tax bracket you're in now, what your Social Security is going to be, how long the Roth conversion window is. It really varies by person, and it's not always just the most simple convert it all within 3 years. It requires a full plan of us, detailing each year what your incomes are to look at what the optimal strategy.
I mean, when you're talking about our Aim Retirement System, the reason I trademarked it was because I felt it was complete. And you're absolutely right. You can't put the cart before the horse. There are several other things that we have to do first before we layer the tax planning on top of it. So this picture that we talked about, typical, not unusual situation, retirees in a higher tax bracket than they were when they were working. Along comes the tax planning. The Roth conversion is a key piece of this. And Roth conversions can be difficult to understand. I've made hours and hours and hours of videos, haven't we, Brooke, on Roth conversions. But it can be really just very simplified and crystallized into one common sentence, which would be, the government is going to dictate how and when your taxes occur in retirement. A Roth conversion puts you in control of your tax situation. When will you be taxed? How much will you be taxed? And so if you think about this, if you put a team of CPAs, certified financial planners, and CFAs in charge of your overall plan, including taxes, chances are they are going to be able to come up with a way that can reduce your taxes compared to how the government wants you to take your taxes. That's a Roth conversion. You're basically taking control of your situation. Take a look at the potential savings. So I come up with a formula that I say if you have $1 million in your 401k, you can save about $500,000 in taxes. That's just a rough formula.
Yep.
Everyone's situation is different. If you have $2 million, you're going to save at least $1 million in taxes between you and your family. Everyone's situation is different, but over 200 Roth conversions in, that's the general basic formula if you're just looking for a rule of thumb. But this particular 62-year-old couple, by doing a Roth conversion, they save how much in taxes? $635,000 in taxes over the rest of their life. That's a lot of money. We're going to talk about $635,000. That's between now at age 62 and when they pass away. But why? What's the difference between, because the Roth conversion in this case, yes, you're saving $635,000 in taxes because you took control of your situation. But why is the total Roth conversion worth $1 million to this family?
Yeah. So when you hand down tax deferred money or your 401k IRA money goes to your beneficiaries and they have to liquidate it within 10 years, and that's taxed at their income tax rate as well. So the additional savings, from your beneficiaries is really just like a cherry on top. You're handing them tax-free money. They can take it out without having to worry about how it will affect their tax return.
Yeah. And if you look at that, do you want to hand your kids a bunch of money that's going to be taxed? Or do you want to hand your kids a bunch of money that's probably never going to be taxed? It's obvious, right? Now, can we go back to that number? 62-year-old couple, hey, do this Roth conversion. Put yourself in control of taxes. It's worth $1 million to you and your family. Do you feel like when we show people this, they're a little bit skeptical of such a big number, such a large savings?
Yes. And I think a lot of the kickback that we receive, two things really. One is I don't want to pay taxes up front. Typically when we walk through the plan and show them the savings, they'll be more convinced. But the second thing is when people say, oh, I won't live that long. I won't be paying RMDs for very long. So that's the thing that we have to come back to people and really say, well, it's going to save you money whether you live to 95 or 80, but also you're saving money for your kids too, which is, like I said, a cherry on top.
Hey there, RFL show listeners. Did you know that 97% of Americans associate the word financial advisor with simply investing money? But sadly, there is one key piece of information most retirees do not realize until it's too late, and sometimes they miss it altogether. And although retirement is this great emotional victory, sadly, it's actually the beginning of the most treacherous part of your financial life. If you're considering working with a fiduciary who works exclusively with retirees and those nearing retirement, go to aimassessment.com. That is AAMassessment.com. Schedule a complimentary one-on-one visit with me. Ask questions about your retirement situation. Learn more about our trademarked Aim Retirement System and see if we may be a good fit for you. It all starts here with the conversation. AIMassessment.com. I think they're skeptical when they hear there's no way I'm going to increase my overall multi-generational net worth by $1 million. And I think this is the part of financial planning, what I call the financial planning void. And I think a lot of CPAs, I'm a CPA, I've been a CPA for a long time, right? I just said that. I'm talking about my brethren here. They're so good at doing a tax return. They are so good at it. 99% of CPAs, if you have those initials after your name, you can pretty much rest assured they're going to kill on your tax return. They're going to do it right. They're going to get it down to the last penny, and they are going to get it done hopefully before April 15th.
Yeah.
But nobody's CPA is coming out to them and saying, hey, look, I've got a great idea that over the next 30 years is going to save you $1 million. It just doesn't happen. I think the biggest complaint is proactive. They're not proactive.
Yeah, and their main goal is to reduce your taxes now.
Right.
They're trying, everything they can do to reduce your taxes in the current year, when we really have a much longer term view, a 30+ year view of your full plan. And we're not just looking at, yes, your taxes may be higher in the next 3 years, but over the long term, you're going to be saving a huge amount of money.
It's not a bad thing about CPAs. They're just not comfortable doing long-term financial planning, but they're excellent at doing tax returns. Oppositely, there's software that financial planners use to look on a long-term basis. The problem, and we're going to talk about the hidden Roth conversion window in here in a second. The problem is that the typical financial planner has never done a tax return for a client. And frankly, the majority of financial planners who are doing well for themselves don't even do their own tax return.
Yeah, you need somebody that can combine the two, and really more than just those two things, but combine everything into one plan so that you have the best possible situation and you're saving the most in taxes.
So that's the retirement planning void. I would agree 100%. So when somebody says to me, there's no way I'm going to save $1 million in a Roth conversion, I say, okay, let's bring our CPA from the team in and let me show you what your tax return is. So this right here, Brooke's got this on the screen. This is the same 62-year-old couple that's going to save $1 million between them and their children over their lifetime. Very interesting. This is when they're age 82. So as a CPA, the CPA can say, well, this is what your tax return is going to look like at age 82. So what stands out to you on this tax return at age 82?
Extremely large distributions, $190,000.
Required minimum distributions. Why are they taking $190,000? Do they need $190,000?
They don't need it. They're not using it to live on. The majority of that is just required by the government to be taken out and pay taxes.
Yeah, so I love it. They'll look at this and say, well, I don't need $190,000 when I'm age 82. It doesn't matter. You may need it. You may not need it, but you're going to be forced to take it out, and there it is on your tax return. And then what about that Social Security?
Yeah, the other thing, too, Social Security, a portion of your Social Security is taxable depending on your income. Additionally, your Medicare premiums go up when your income is high. Those things will forever be higher than they would be if you had no RMDs.
So this is the 62-year-old couple we talked about. They were making about $200,000 a year right now working. And they're going to be, their total income is going to be over $300,000 at age 82. And they're not even working. Okay. So then I bring up, hey, this is what the same tax return at age 82 is going to look like if you do a Roth conversion. What do you think the tax savings is? You can see instead of $330,000 of income, they have $28,000. What do you? I don't know what the tax savings there is. It's obviously thousands and thousands of dollars of tax savings, and that's just 1 year. So that's how it all adds up. Here's the problem: it's all going to go away potentially. So we're actually talking about what's happening in Washington. So why don't you tell people what I am scared about and why I have dreamt up this word this phrase, the hidden Roth conversion window, and why this potential savings could drastically be decreased in the future.
Yeah, well, we're at the lowest federal, tax brackets that we've been at for quite a long time. And, that's only guaranteed for a short amount of time. We have a few years where that's guaranteed. And after that, with the federal, deficit, we really have a huge gap between our earnings and what we spend. We've already gone through, we have plenty of podcasts talking about how the government's tried to reduce that deficit by decreasing spending. And, as much as they try, we're not going to reduce the $2 trillion deficit between those two things. So really an easy solution then is to raise taxes, which is not unheard of. We've been there before. We have just seen, 33% higher tax rates not that long ago. And that's ultimately what we think the government will have to do in the future. So that's why we're calling this the hidden
Roth conversion window. I love that phrase. I'm good at coming up with phrases. So, Brooke, let me ask you a question. Do you remember that little children's fable called it's The Boy Who Cried Wolf?
Yeah.
And what happens to this boy is he's always saying, oh, something bad's happened to me. Something bad's happened to me. And pretty soon people are like, well, nothing bad happened. You're just kind of faking it. And then when it really hits the fan, it's
There's
like,
no one there to help
it's right there.
Mm-hmm.
We have been hearing about the United States debt problems for years. Let me tell you what has changed and why it is coming to the forefront. Number one, finally, for the first time ever in the history of the United States of America, every single major credit rating agency is now saying the U.S. debt, the U.S. credit rating is no longer pristine.
Mm.
We've never, ever had that. 50 years ago, it was the most pristine credit in the world,
Mm-hmm.
literally.
AAA.
Now nobody says that anymore. Okay. What else has changed is that we have spent so much money in the last 5 to 7 years. The debt level has now come to a point where even elected officials are starting to hold up bills and policy because they understand that there's a debt problem. Now, I want to bring this up on the screen. Brooke, if you bring this up, let's be very clear about this. We have a major problem with the debt. There are 2 ways to solve it. And you think about just simple, Brooke, let me ask you a question. Okay, ready?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, God bless you, your household is having financial problems.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There are 2 things you can do. Okay, just think about you and your husband. Gosh, we're not making enough money. There's 2 things you can do. One is you can spend less.
Yeah.
Or you can go get a job and make more.
Mm-hmm.
Which one, honestly, and I don't know if there's an answer, what do you think would be easier for you guys to do? If I said you have to come up with $1,000 a month, would you say, oh, I'm going to cancel Netflix? Or would you say, my husband needs to get a better job? Honestly.
Probably better job.
All right. It's easier, right? I mean, we are not in the United States trying to cut out $50
Right.
out of the,
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to cut $2 trillion.
Mm-hmm. And there's only so many places you can cut. I
Yeah.
mean, you've heard everyone talk about it. There's only so much discretionary spending. Do you really want to go cutting people's Social Security or their health care? It's hard to, you can say, yes, we should spend less, but a $2 trillion gap is much larger than the amount that we can realistically
happen.
cut.
It's not going to happen. The richest man in the world, Elon Musk, came aboard and said, I'm going to save $2 trillion. He said, well, maybe it's only $1 trillion.
It's not
And now he's not even there anymore
Mhm.
because it's not like you're cutting Netflix. Sure, can you cut Netflix in your household? Yes. But can you turn the electricity off? No.
Right.
Medicare is the electricity you can't turn off. Medicaid is the electricity you can't turn it off. Social Security
Mhm.
can't go away. It's just not possible. So therefore, Wharton says what's going to happen is we're just going to go back to the way taxes were 40 years ago, 33% increase. So here's what the hidden Roth conversion window looks like. The debt is the green thing on the screen. It's going up and it's going up and it's going up. The tax rates have been going down and down, down. All-time low tax rates. Why are they low? Because we had the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which says tax rates are going to be low until the end of 2025. This is 2025. So what's going to happen at the end of 2025, the tax rates are going to go up a little bit, back to the way they were in 2017. Right now, we're using the #1 rated financial planning software in the industry. And when we say what's the best Roth conversion, it's saying, how often do you see, Emma, a Roth conversion suggested by the #1 rated financial planning software industry that says, let's do a Roth conversion over the next 20 years?
Almost never.
But it happens.
Yeah, it does.
It happens. And that's exactly, this picture is exactly what financial advisors are saying. Hey, you're smart, Mr. Customer. You want to do a Roth conversion, Mr. Customer. Let me see what my #1 tax planning software says. Do a Roth conversion over the next 15 years.
Yeah, it will propose it, but I think we're smart enough to realize that likely we don't want to rely on those tax rates being the same.
Because we know about the window.
Exactly.
And that's the whole point. And so this is bad advice, very likely bad advice. And so what's really going to happen, and this is where you start to see, has the current administration in Washington, D.C. proven anything? I think if they've proven anything, they've proven that if they set their mind to something,
They're going to try to get their way.
they're going to damn well do it.
Yep.
Okay? And right now, as we are recording this, as you are watching this, what are they doing in Washington? What are they trying to do in Washington with these taxes?
They're trying to extend the previous tax cuts.
It's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, that low tax rate is actually going to last for at least another 2 to 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But what else do we know about these tax cuts that are coming? We know that they're going to increase the debt even further.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so what happens is you're going to eventually, as Wharton says, have a 33% increase immediately in effective tax rates.
Mm-hmm.
And now here you are doing a Roth conversion when taxes are jacked up that high. And what you have is this hidden window of opportunity.
Yeah.
That's what the hidden Roth conversion window is. So
And that's why we feel we need to talk about it today, because if you miss the window between now and RMD age, where we are at historically low tax rates, then the IRS is really going to be taking a much larger portion of your retirement than you think they are.
Yeah. If you are thinking that you're in a good spot because you're doing a Roth conversion, you've planned it out, maybe you have a financial advisor, you should ask about this window.
Mm-hmm.
You should say to them, look, gosh, what if tax rates go up 33% like Wharton says they're going to?
Mm-hmm.
Now, am I still doing the right Roth conversion plan? Wouldn't it be better maybe to get it over with now?
Mm-hmm.
Can I tell you about the 62-year-old couple?
Yep.
Remember I said they had 3 more years to work? This, as I said at the beginning of the podcast, it's great for people who have not started Social Security.
Mm-hmm.
And I said the age ranges of 60 to 67. These are the people who can take advantage of this window. Now, that 62-year-old couple, were they retired right now or are they still working? They're going to work for 3 more years.
Mm-hmm.
Contrary to what popular opinion is, it actually might make sense to start doing this now, even if you are working.
Given the tax brackets, we have more
Mm-hmm.
room to work. And so even if you do have some income from work, whether it's one or both of you, you still might have some additional room to fill up and
Mm-hmm.
convert that amount.
Absolutely. Like without going to the next tax bracket.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, yeah, you're in the tax bracket right now. You're making $200,000 a year. You're already paying taxes. To your point, you could still fit some Roth conversion into that window.
And again, that's why it's important to have a full plan, because then you can play what if scenarios. What if I start now, even though I'm still working? Or does it make more sense to wait until 3 years from now? So it's important to look at what your income is and really what the best conversion strategy is.
All right, so what have we learned today? If you have a Roth conversion plan, revisit it.
Mm-hmm.
Ask your advisor or your CPA about the hidden Roth conversion window. Will taxes go up in the future? Will it reduce the effectiveness of my Roth conversion plan? What if you don't have a Roth conversion and you don't have any plans, but you have done a good job savings? Okay, say you got $1 million
Mm-hmm.
and you're 62 and you got $1 million in your 401k. What would you advise somebody to look into? How would they approach it?
It's good to find an advisor that can gather, all of your information and make a full plan for you. Just so that you don't miss that window. If you're waiting even a year or 2 years, you're missing out on 1 or 2 valuable years where you could be converting and avoiding a lot of those RMDs.
It's not for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
We have clients that are in a very specific situation
Mm-hmm.
where they will come to us and they'll say, gosh, I saw that video you did on Roth conversions. It sounds really sexy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not right for everybody. Some people are not in a position where it's going to save them anything at all.
Right, but we always, regardless of who it is, what their situation is, we'll revisit it fairly often to see if it does make sense at this point.
Makes sense. We're planning on taxes going up. When you ask the typical American, do you think taxes are going to go down? Do you think taxes are going to stay the same? Or do you think they're going to go up? Pretty much everyone says the same thing. They're going to go up. Take advantage of the Roth conversion window. Take a look at it. Make sure you plan for it. If you have a plan already for a conversion, revisit it. If you are 60 to 67 and you have not looked at a Roth conversion yet, I highly recommend you look at one, even if you are still working.
Mm-hmm.
Emma, this was a great cast today. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And Brooke, do you feel like it was a good cast?
I do.
Mm-hmm. Did I do a great job?
You did.
How would you rate my performance on a scale 1 to 10?
Probably a 7, 8.
Oh.
Yikes.
You know how I feel about that.
You can always improve.
All right, everyone. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks for listening to the Retirement for Life podcast. Take care.
Investment advisory services provided by Sear Financial, Inc., SEC-registered investment advisor. All content on this podcast is for information purposes only and should not be considered investment, legal, or tax advice. Material presented is believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations are made by our firm as to another party's informational accuracy or completeness.